Where there's a will, there's a way. That is something my grandfather said. He learned that as an early young man. And I'll tell you that story, and then I'll tell you quickly just how it relates to what we're doing in this business acquisition journey. So, my grandfather grew up reasonably humble beginnings, not a lot of money. He was in a class of one, believe it or not, in this small town up in Maine. And so he graduated, didn't have any money. He went and figured out, how am I going to go to college? So he went about 80 miles away from here, and he ended up knocking on doors, and he was trying to sell books. And he knocked on a door. The door opened. It was a physician. And the physician said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm trying to sell enough books to go to college. He said, oh. He said, what's your name? He said, Malin Whipple. And then he asked the physician, asked him, where are you from? And he says, I'm from Solon. And he said, oh, wow. He said, when I was a kid, both my parents were killed. Your parents took me in. And so he said, I want to repay that generosity. So if you want to study in the sciences, I'll loan you the money to go to college. And he ended up taking advantage of that. He got a life insurance policy, so if something happened to him, he could pay back the physician. But it pointed out a couple of things. One is that where there's a will, there's a way. He was knocking on doors 80 miles away from where he lived. Who knows the door that you knocked? And we say it a lot, kissing frogs. It's absolutely true. But in the spirit of where there's a will, there's a way, not everything you are going to do is going to work. And you're going to have to find different plans, end up finding different tactics. The goals will be the same, but the tactics may be different. And next to our home here in Maine that we renovated, which was a home built by my great-great-grandfather back in the 1860s, there's a church next to it, which was a church, ended up not being a church and became a thrift shop. And it's right next to us, and it eventually came up for sale, and we bought it. And we wanted to renovate it. One of the reasons for that, it has a Whipple Memorial window in it. So we decide we're going to renovate it. One of the big jobs is painting the whole outside. It's 70 feet tall, about at its height of the church steeple, so it's not something that's easy to get to. And we rent a man lift, an 85-foot man lift to do that. Pretty high up. So time goes on. We're in the process of it. We rent the man lift for 2 weeks, or for 2 months, 2 weeks, I wish, 2 months. And we start to work on that process. And the last 3 weeks have been rain every single day. Kind of hard to paint in the rain. So we took a look at that situation. We can't change what we're paying for the man lift. We can't change the painting situation, but we can change some things around it. So we said, okay, we can't paint in the rain, but we can scrape the old paint in the rain. We can do some inside jobs in the rain, like the shutters and things like that. And we can end up nailing back on some clappers, and there's some areas in which there is some cover that we can do some work in. So some people would look at that situation and say, oh, well, we got a man lift, but it's raining, so we can't paint. Some people would say, okay, we've got a situation that's preventing us from doing exactly what we want to do, but what else can we do? How can we still keep moving forward? And one of the workers, when I suggested scraping in the rain, says, wow, I never thought of that. But that's a great idea. So he's out there in rain gear, raining down all day long on him, doing that work. So I would just encourage you to think about, when you have something that's not working the way you would hope it would work, think about alternate ways you can do it. We talk about how to reach out, whether that's cold calls, emails, letters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Also remember that ideas come from different places. So use your team, use your professionals, ask those questions. They have more experience than you do. And if you're beginning this process and you don't know really how to start, a couple of things. One, the Deep Dive Bootcamp, just go over to my website. That goes through the steps. I'm constantly reminded how critical it is to follow those steps by people who don't follow the steps. And then two, there's conversation starters there. If you want to know how to begin the conversations with prospects for your board, etc., go ahead and pick that up. That's a free course. So you can get there directly if you want by going to brucewhipple.com/free course. But remember the words of my grandfather: where there's a will, there's a way. If the desire is strong enough, we can be pretty ingenious about how we end up getting things done and alternate ways to get that done. And then once more, just remember him knocking on a door 80 miles away and finding someone who his parents had done a great favor for, and that favor was returned. So you never know the door that you knock on, but for those things to happen, you have to knock on the door or kiss a lot of frogs, as we say often. So keep pushing, take action, know what it is you want to do, write out a plan, write out daily actions, and then work that plan, and you will do better than those people that don't do that.